I'm Erica Friedman, and welcome back to Yuri Studio, where I answer questions about the genre of Yuri anime and manga. In our last couple of videos, we looked at foundational Yuri anime series to the turn of the century, and then the early days of Yuri fandom as old ideas became new again and repackaged for a new millennium. If you haven't seen parts 1 and 2 of this series, I hope you'll take a moment to watch those first. I'll link to them in show notes and, of course, at the end of this video. As the 2010s opened up, Yuri was really starting to become recognized as a genre, and Yuri fandom was being recognized as a fandom. Yuri wasn't just a single fetish in a long line of fetishes or a single side character in a story about something else. Now Yuri was the story. We had had magical girl series since the 1990s, and Yuri had featured in so many of them, so it almost makes sense that the next decade began with yet another deconstruction of the genre and a number of surprises. If I tell you about an anime series that you could find goods for in just about every kind of store and every section of the store, clothing for men, for women, for children, underwear, manga, anime and novels and tech and goods, what series pops into your head? One Piece, Evangelion, some other seinen series? How about Puella, Magi, Madoka, Magica? Almost immediately, when Aniplex released Puella, Magi, Madoka, Magica, it was a hit. This was not accidental. It was actually created to be a hit, a mega hit in fact. It had famous character designer, deconstructed magical girl for a male audience for a new millennium, and it was marketed like crazy right from the beginning in a way that very few series that weren't already hits was ever marketed. Right from the beginning, Madoka was dressed for success, and honestly, it was pretty good. In my opinion, and what do you even tune in to this channel for if not for my opinion, this anime is actually one of the very best examples of a 13-episode series with an unusually clear beginning, middle, and end. And in fact, it was all the end I needed. I know the movies have gone, but for a series that hasn't stopped going, that last episode was the only thing I ever really needed. But, in fact, it hasn't stopped going. 2 new additions to the franchise were just announced, in fact. More importantly for this video, it had been a decade since Revolutionary Girl Utena, and Madoka gave a whole new generation of Yuri fans, most of whom hadn't actually watched the Magical Girl series that we built the fandom on, a chance to be literary critics about the deconstruction of the magical girl. So here's the thing, Madoka wasn't new. All magical girl series deconstruct the magical girl genre. They have to because audiences don't stay the same. The audience of adults in 2011 isn't an audience of children in 1994. It's not even an audience of adults in 1994. Levels of sophistication aside, because we are talking cartoons here, expectations change, and so, most importantly, do trends in anime, art, and writing. So, Madoka, instead of being a paean to pure, innocent love, became a logic puzzle with the consequences of failure being overt destruction. No energy being stolen here. Homura is fighting off an ugly and dark, violent ending. But, and here's the big but, it wasn't Homura's eros for Madoka that won. It was Madoka's agape. So ha 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 on the deconstructionists, a magical girl's pure love saved the day again. I know, the movies rewrote that, and they're still rewriting it, but for now, in 2011, magical girls were back with a vengeance. Ha. Yep, here we are again with Sailor Moon. In 2014, Sailor Moon Crystal received something we'd never seen before, an international 10-language subtitled mega global release. It still didn't get the kind of money and time it deserved, but hey, can't ask for everything. While other series were doing reboots, Sailor Moon manga by Takeuchi Naoko received an anime that was true to the creator's original intent, starring a whole new cast with only Sailor Moon's original voice actress Mitsubishi Kitano returning. Crystal has all the strengths and weaknesses of the original manga, and that could be a whole video on its own, but suffice to say that when Chiaki took over the direction, we finally got the Haruka Michiru we'd been hoping for.
どうした 鏡占いをしようとしたら邪魔が入って鏡が曇ったの。でもすぐ吹き消したわ。
ミチル、俺たちのやろうとしていることは無駄なことかもしれない。何をしてももう手遅れかもしれない。
それを承知で始めたことよ、はるか。運命の歯車は回り始めてしまったの。新たな覚醒はやがてすぐに訪れる。3つのタリスマンを揃えるしかないのよ。
And while it's not a Yuri anime per se, it's not an anime at all, I'll jump in here with a cartoon that was deeply, seriously steeped the hell in ode to magical girl about right now in 2013 Rebecca Sugar's Steven Universe. There are so many references in Steven Universe, and they aren't even hidden. Sailor Moon and Revolutionary Girl Utena are front and center time and time again in Steven Universe. And then, on top of that, we get a gay wedding. So take that, anime. Right now, in 2021, you might be tempted to think Sailor Moon isn't that big a deal, but I'll remind you that on June 3rd this year, Netflix did a global release of both of the Sailor Moon Eternal movies. So yeah, it still wields some serious influence. Takashima Hiromi's story of school life Yuri started as part of a new Yuri boom in the early 2010s. Pure Yuri anthology Hirari magazine went out of print in 2014, and okay, so that was it, but no. Takashima-sensei kept publishing chapters, and Shinso-kan kept publishing volumes. And in 2017, a 6-minute animated video showed up on YouTube with subtitles in English. The animation studio Pony Canyon teased that something cool might be coming if they got 100,000 views, and so they did. And later that year, we got Asagawa to Kase-san, the OVA. By this time, Yuri was well established enough so that this OVA debuted on both coasts of the United States at major anime events as a Yuri anime, with no further explanation needed. And now we get to why I've added this here. At Anime NYC, the director and producer were both in attendance for the East Coast premiere. We, the fandom, had already had more than 20 years of Yuri centered on schoolgirls, and the Yuri audience was very comfortable with the idea of girl meets girl, but Kase-san and Morning Glories skipped that completely. During the Q&A session, Sato Takuya talked about the idea behind this movie, that this wasn't a girl meets girl movie, that this was a movie about how important communication was to an already existing relationship. Fans were able to enjoy absolutely lovely animation, and everything in the story was given the best quality treatment. And by doing that, Pony Canyon set a whole new bar for Yuri anime, a bar that it hasn't really hit again since, but since the next popular thing didn't even try, expectations have dropped down again. The manga for Citrus had been running since 2011 in Comic Yuri Hime magazine, and since 2015 has been released in English by 7 Seas. In 2018, Saburo Uta's not quite incest melodrama became an anime. If you ask me what single anime in the last 5 years was most responsible for bringing new fans into Yuri fandom, I'm going to have to tell you that it's this one. Citrus is exactly like a 10-volume, 12, almost 13 now with Citrus Plus, slow motion multi-car pileup, and like any good accident, people can't look away. I run a number of Yuri communities, and Citrus is absolutely the series people cite as their first Yuri right now. It's a real throwback too. Mei and Yuzu are Simone and Racine all over again, proving that this basic trope has staying power. Mei has all the hallmarks of the neglected Yamato Nadeshiko beauty. The cheerful, naive, energetic girl has become a gal who lacks any street wisdom or common sense. They make a terrible couple, but hey, when has that literally stopped any anime or story ever? What's my least favorite Yuri anime? I don't know if you could hear it, but my wife just screamed, Citrus! I really hated Citrus so much. Okay, so if Citrus brought the ghosts of Simone and Racine back, complete with mental instability and taboo flavoring of the 1970s, the next question is obviously, has there been a Yuri anime that did it right? Well, just as obviously, yes, or I would not have brought it up otherwise. In 2018, Yagate Kimi ni Naru hit Japanese screens, followed with a quick license for it in English as Bloom Into You. I want to stop here for a second because there's some really interesting elements that I think you need to understand about this anime. One, this anime was, again, created to be a hit, not like Madoka, which was created to be a phenomenon. Bloom Into You manga ran in a Dengeki magazine, which means it was for mostly adult men. The Dengeki magazines are home to dozens, possibly hundreds of anime series you know, because the anime is often made to re-energize the readership of an ongoing manga series, like Akikan, that amazing story about girls who are soda cans. That manga ran in Dengeki Daio, and after the thrill or perhaps shock of the idea lost its luster, readership dropped off. So a short-run anime was made, so the series got enough readership to get through the end of the manga. This is very normal for Dengeki magazines. And Kadokawa, the publisher, is the marketing machine of the anime and manga world. By 2018, you could absolutely guarantee that any anime Kadokawa made was going to be marketed out the wazoo, which is why in 2019, when I took some folks to Tokyo on a 100 Years of Yuri tour, we were able to fill our pockets with Bloom Into You original goods at a pop-up shop, like today's t-shirt. But let's take a second to think about some other reasons why Bloom Into You was the big hit that it was. Intense Yamato Nadeshiko type, Genki light-haired girl type, check? Yes, of course. Toko has all the hallmarks of Simone and Maya and Sachiko and Yaya and Mei and another 1,000 of her type before her. But like Kono Yuki Sachiko, Toko's behavior made some actual sense for the character, and it led to good character building. And so did Yu's behavior. And while we're talking Yu, let's note the super modernization of the narrative with actual queered characters like Sayaka, Miyako, and Riko, which led fans to interpret Yu as aromantic and Maki quite likely as aro-ace. This gave the Yuri audience a huge boost, as you can imagine, with a whole new generation ready for some actual queerness in their Yuri. About 10 years ago, I wrote an article called 40 Years of the Same Damn Story. Now it's a decade later, and we're still getting magical girls and girl princes in the tropic Yuri couple, and you'd be totally reasonable if your next question is, do we ever get anything else? So, I'm going to wrap up this video with one last anime and hopes for an anime yet to come. If you've been watching Yuri Studio videos, you might notice that I keep saying one thing over and over again. Read science fiction. Right now, genre fic with great lesbian characters is absolutely on point. And naturally, you're probably wondering if Yuri has anything to offer. In 2020, an anime was made based on the first couple of novels of a series that is ongoing in English right now. Otherside Picnic was fun, more action-y horror comedy than the novels. The Yuri is slow to develop in the novels, but the anime accelerates the pace and gives a little room for Yuri on the shelf, and the OP and ED are pretty heavy on the Yuri side for enhanced flavor. What Otherside Picnic did was something that a lot of us had been really desperate for, a Yuri anime that was not about children and gave some room at the table for folks not particularly enamored of romance stories. We hadn't had a purely action series since the early 2000s, and frankly this wasn't one. But it was really nice to have some Yuri that was rooted in action and other slightly darker but not gritty fiction genres. Personally, I am all in on the comedy, science fiction, horror genre these days, so yeah, more of this please. And this takes us to the present, where I will wrap up with a fervent wish. One day, I hope that soon I will have to update the series with a video about an isekai and how one series maybe soon will change everything in another world where we're in love with the villainess. But not yet. So that's my hope for the future. Thank you once again to all my Okazu patrons for supporting these videos, and helping us pay our guest writers at Okazu and supporting queer creators directly. Okazu patrons also get to send in suggestions for videos, so if you have enjoyed this video or any of our work at Okazu, please consider becoming a patron. I also ask you to please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Feel free to share this or any of our videos. All of that really helps our algorithm. Links to the Patreon and Okazu and all the series I mentioned here will be linked to in the show notes, of course. Thank you so much for watching this video, and we'll see you next time on Yuri Studio. What's my least favorite Yuri anime? I don't know if you could hear it, but my wife just screamed, citrus! I really hated citrus so much.